Another book from my library seems to hit a topic that many people might be thinking about. It's called Reaching for the Invisible God by Philip Yancey. I'd like to share from the book along with some of my reflections. The modern world, honors intelligence, good looks, confidence, and achievement, whether in sports or business. Although not all of these are bad, because who gives one intelligence anyway? The question may be, how does one use it? Achievement may come from hard work, perseverance, which is not a bad thing. But again, where does one put all this effort? God's not easily impressed by these, though. Just look at the Bible. In the Old Testament, God used a shepherd, twice, once with Moses and then in David. He used a non-Hebrew, Ruth, to be part of the lineage of David. Gideon was insecure, Jacob was a cheater. And in the New Testament, Peter had foot and mouth disease. Thomas doubted, and even Paul was an overachiever in the wrong direction. So in reaching for the invisible God, there must be room for doubt. Yancey says that doubt always exists with faith. If everything would be certain in life, who'd need faith? Now that's worth writing down. The opposite of faith is not doubt, but fear. Remembering my relationship with God takes effort. We don't have a photo album or a home video to help us remember. Andy Stanley talks about defining moments. All of us on the journey with Jesus have these. Some maybe more than others, but these are cornerstones for our faith. Joshua had 12 men, one from each tribe, get a stone from the Jordan River and stack them as a reminder that God stopped the waters so they could pass on a dry riverbed into the promised land. I know when my faith may begin to fade, I look back over my life and I see times when God did great things, either for me or through me. These were not just a set of coincidences. Again, Yancey reminds us that if the journey did not include a few potholes, dark stretches, and unexpected detours, we would hardly need faith. We may have good and great plans, but God puts a detour sign in front of us. When we see a detour sign on the road, we know that probably there is some construction up ahead. When God puts a detour sign in our journey, it's probably because we need some construction too. We must not first wait to see before we act. Instead, if we must act first, then we will see. That is why anyone who waits to see clearly before he will believe never starts on the journey. Think about the story of Abraham. God told him to leave everything and go to a place that he would show him. It doesn't say that in the Bible that Abraham asked to know where before he would leave. So getting back to reaching for the invisible God, we have seen the ideas of doubt, faith, and obedience in this journey. C.S. Lewis lists a sure way to promote God's absence. Avoid silence, avoid solitude. Concentrate on money, sex, status, health, and above all, your own grievances. Keep the radio, or TV as I added, keep them on, live in a crowd, use plenty of sedation, stick to newspapers, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I added them too. And you will find the advertisements helpful, especially those with a sexy or snobbish appeal. So to experience God, why not go camping with God? The Israelites did that for 40 years, although it wasn't their idea. God, on the other hand, didn't need a place to live. They had been slaves for 400 years and did not remember the God of their ancestors. So they needed his actual presence in order to get to know him. And even so, it was sometimes a painful experience. So what are some ways to reach the invisible God? Here are a few. Are you ready? Live a life of simplicity and solitude, submission, service, confession, worship, meditation, prayer, fasting, study, purity, devotion, seek spiritual direction, join a small group, keep a journal. Okay, not all at once. Someone who climbs Mount Everest or runs a marathon must rely on years of conditioning. A crash course before the task will not work. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Just keep in mind that we draw near to God when we give ourselves away, because that is what he did. An unknown writer, probably a math teacher, once said that he likened some Christians to schoolboys who would look up solutions to math problems in the back of the book. But as a former math teacher myself, I know that only by doing the math, step by step, can you learn the math. There is so much more that could be said here, so why don't you read the book? Here's a closing thought. A friend was scheduled for a 7:30 breakfast and never showed. How did you spend your time?